Hey everyone, welcome back to Junkyard Jenny's Garage. I'm Junkyard Jenny. So today we are going to take the cylinder head off of this here engine. This actually came out of a 1971 240Z, but there's a few things I'm noticing about it right off the bat. First of all, this thing's kind of been clobbered together with a bunch of different engine parts. So first thing I notice here is that we've got an N36 exhaust manifold. N36 is typical of 260Z. We do have the proper E46 intake manifold, which is good. The cylinder head is a P79, which is going to be early 280ZX. And then finally the block is an F54, which is a later 280ZX. So really what I'm after here today is the block, but I'm gonna show you how to get the cylinder head off. This is gonna be the same all the way across the board, all the way from 70, really all the way up to 83. The non-turbo models, the turbo models get a little bit more complicated as far as getting the manifolds and whatnot off, but this is basically the gist of it. It's gonna be from 70 to 83 non-turbo. So a couple other things I wanted to point out, which I think is really interesting, is that, so this here is a bracket that was made to put air conditioning on the car. Typically, these things had a really big kind of a, I don't know, blocky looking bracket so that they could use the York compressor. This one is actually set up for a Sandon compressor, which is the smaller, more compact compressor. So this is a really interesting piece here. Up here is the air pump bracket, and then here is the AC compressor bracket. So anyhow, let's get this cylinder head off and see what the internals of the block look like, at least from the top side. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is get the fan off and the fuel pump off, only because they're kind of in my way. I mean, I really don't need to take them off, but they're sort of in my way. So that's what I'm going to do, is take the fan and the fuel pump. Okay, next we're going to take the intake and exhaust manifold combination off. The cool thing is, for me anyway, when they clobbered this thing together, they didn't really bother to put all of the nuts back on. There's actually only a couple of them, maybe 4, down in here. Of course, they're the hardest ones to get to. That's just my luck. I'm also going to take off this thermostat housing as well. Typically these are 12 millimeter. I've seen them be 13s on occasion as well. Hopefully that's not the case here. Not that it matters, I have a 13. Thermostat housing comes off in these 2 bolts here, one here, and then a real long one right here. All right, let's get this off. Now, hopefully this comes out without giving me too much of a fight. Oh, good. Oh, look at that. Okay. Oh, I got a hose I gotta cut here, I think. Yeah, let me cut this hose. Oh, it doesn't want to cut. Let's see. All right. Intake manifold is off. Next, we're going to do the exhaust manifold. This one has air injection. There we go. See these air injectors there? That's part of the emission system. Okay, so when I took the thermostat housing off, I noticed there's kind of a lot of and debris in there. And it looks like there's a bag down in there, so this ought to be interesting. Okay, next step, we're gonna get the valve cover off. All right, this is just a series of 10mm bolts right across the top. Okay, let's pop this cover off. Wow, that actually doesn't look too horrible. Definitely needs to be cleaned up in there for sure. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is get this cam gear off of here. This is a 19mm bolt. Okay, if you're gonna be putting your motor back together, make sure that you mark your timing marks. I didn't on this one. Basically, you wanna set it at top dead center and then make sure that your cam and your chain are set specifically. Now this one, like I said, I don't care, I'm not putting this one back together. So what I'm gonna do is pull the gear and let the chain drop into the bottom of the head there. Just give it a wiggle, it'll come off. And then this, you kind of just have to work the chain off. You don't have a whole lot of room to work here. Okay, gear's off. I'm just gonna drop the chain. There we go. Okay, the next step is to get these bolts out. These can be challenging sometimes. Hopefully we won't have any issues. Okay, so these guys use a 10mm hex. Some cylinder heads have an oil feeder tube that runs along the top of the cam because the cam is not internally oiled. If that's the case, there's gonna be a series 3 of them, 1, 2, 3 10mm bolts that hold your feeder tube on. You're gonna have to pull those to be able to get to these cylinder head bolts. This one is internally lubricated, so it does not have that oil feeder. So another thing too, see how this one's got some gook in it? You really wanna get a good grip with your tool because these can strip out really easy and they're kind of a pain in the butt to work with to start with. So what I'm gonna do is get myself a rag and a flat blade screwdriver and just get in there and get those things cleaned up. Okay, got them all cleaned out. Now, I got the big gun out. Let's get this guy off. Wow, I'm quite shocked. Usually 1 or 2 of them gives me a really hard time, and you have to whip out the big gun, but this time, no problem. Before you start pulling this thing, there's one other little area, tricky, right in here. There's 2 10mm bolts that have to come out, so we'll get those pulled. What's kind of crappy about them is that you can't get a ratchety wrench on there, and you also can't get any sort of a socket on there. Well, maybe that one you could, but this one, not so much. Ooh, that one wasn't even tight. Okay. They're off. So now the next thing you do is get the cylinder head off. If you get lucky, you can just grab it, oops, and pull it right off. Hopefully that's the case here. I usually just grab it by the center by the cam. Yank it up. Not today. Okay, so we're gonna have to do a little bit of prying action. And make sure you use a rubber mallet as not to damage anything. There is a pretty good pry spot right here on the corner. Oh, come on, I heard it go. Oh yeah, I might be able to grab it now. Let's see. Oh, nope. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay. Again, grab it by the cam. When you set it down, because the cam is still on here, got a gasket, the valves are gonna be in the down position. Don't set it down on those valves, you'll bend them. So set it on its side. Wow, look at this. Some of the surprises I get in here are just awesome. Look at that, a bag. And it looks like, I mean, I can't get this off. It looks like it was literally ran with that bag to get it caught in there. Wow, okay. Well, P79 cylinder heads aren't really all that desirable anyway, so I'm probably just gonna core this one out. Besides, it's got a lot of corrosion right over here and right in here, so this head's probably no good anyway. Really, we're after the block. So I'm gonna have to do a little bit more tear down to make sure that the rest of the internals are good. I have a guy who's interested in this as a short block, including piston rods, crank, and pan. So that's what I'm gonna do. But at least now you know how to get the cylinder head off. So yeah, hopefully you learned something there. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.